Good afternoon. At the outset, thank you, Rajesh Jaji. Thank you, Padma Kumar, for having me here. It's a pleasure. And Dr. Prasad, who spoke earlier, I almost thought that he was taking the wind out of my presentation because he was talking a lot of things which was there in my presentation. But I want to also contradict you for one minute that I'm one of those guys who has spent all my working years outside of Kerala, and I've come back to Trivandrum, to work in Trivandrum. So there is something Trivandrum does hold for people, and I hope to touch upon it when I'm talking about this. I'm not going to talk about seamless connectivity. I'm not talking about world-class infrastructure. I think those words by themselves are well defined, and I think people understand what they mean. I'm not going to talk about those. I also, when I was told about this topic, I wondered, should I go the management route or should I go the personal route? I chose the personal route. So I'm going to talk from my experience. As I mentioned, I have worked all my life outside of Kerala, and the first 5 months of my life in Trivandrum. So I thought I'll use this as a topic to talk about what I think is important for Trivandrum Vision 2025 and why seamless connectivity and the infrastructure is going to be the key element to achieve anything here. My session is also in 2-3 parts. They may seem unconnected initially, but I'll try and connect them towards the end of the talk. So first, people say first give the good news, but I'm going to give the bad news first. Geographically, Trivandrum is skewed. It's at the bottom of the country. And believe you me, I have worked in Delhi, I have worked in Hyderabad, I have worked in Bangalore, Bombay. And as a management, as senior management, look at any initiative, Trivandrum doesn't come to your mind to do anything, start anything. People want to start something in Nagpur, Chandigarh, Coimbatore, Patna, Ahmedabad, but Trivandrum doesn't come. It's not on the radar of most people. So there is a challenge there because we are geographically so skewed, so way down. Last year my wife retired and we drove down from Bombay. I have 2 dogs, so we had to come in the car. And we stopped at Belgaum, we stopped at Bangalore, we stopped at Thrissur, and then we came to Trivandrum. The first 3 days, and because we didn't want to drive the whole day, we didn't want to drive after the sunset, we took it easily, we didn't want to wake up in the morning and drive. We were averaging 500 kilometers in 7 hours. So we started about 7 in the morning, 7:30, by 2:30 for a late lunch, we arrived, then we rest. The last day, the 4th day, 7 hours took, in 7 hours we completed only 250 kilometers, half. And it was the most tiring. Of the 4 days was the most tiring day because it's just a single lane from Kochi to Trivandrum, and it was a pain driving this. I'm just putting these thoughts right now, we'll come back to it as we go along. Again, to Dr. Prasad's point, I've worked in Bombay, I worked in Delhi. I'm used to overnight delivery in Amazon. All of us are online shoppers, right? Amazon delivers overnight, delivers in 2 days. So I'm used to the comfort, right? In today's world, people want instant gratification. But what happens in Trivandrum? I did this screenshot on 4th of June, Saturday. I wanted something there, I looked at it. If I were in Bombay, I would have got it on Monday. If I was in Trivandrum and ordered it, I would have got it today or yesterday. So it's a week for me to get some things delivered in Trivandrum. I did my MBA from Cochin University in the QSAT, and we had friends in Trivandrum, so we used to come to Trivandrum from Kochi. Kochi to Trivandrum railway track was not a double track. It was single track for most of the times, which meant that your train would stop at one station to let another train pass, and then your train would go. And invariably leading to the fact that the Wayanad Express could take anywhere between 5 to 6 hours to reach from Kochi to Trivandrum. And I was trying to do this analysis as to what is the status today, and I was really shocked, that only on May 30th of this year has this entire belt been double tracked. And if you've been outside and worked outside, you know that places like Chandigarh, Delhi, I think they have 4 tracks there, not 2. I mean, the things have moved so much in those cities, so things have moved so fast. It's actually pitiful that we are getting this double track at this so late. We should have got it much before. But again, coming back to the first point, it's a fact that it's out of the radar. It doesn't matter. It's too far away, kind of stuff. I also did a comparison with Kochi. Kochi has direct flights to 15 domestic locations. I didn't look at the international right now. I just looked at the domestic. It has 15 direct flights. Trivandrum has half of it, 7. Which just make coming to Trivandrum a big challenge, because you need to take many connecting flights to reach Trivandrum. And of course, the number of flights is also half to what there is in Kochi. And therefore, the cost of flying to Trivandrum is also higher as compared to Kochi. So, I'm coming to the part of the bad news part over. Literacy. Literacy in Kerala is a double-edged sword. You have the knowledge, people, but it's also difficult. The cost of doing business is very high. Everybody knows the rules. So it's a double-edged sword. But it's not all of it is not bad. So what's good? In Bombay, and this could be in Bombay, it could be in Delhi, it could be in Bangalore, it could be in Hyderabad, it could be in Chennai. I'm just using Bombay because I have my experience in Bombay. On a Saturday, I went out to do some work at 10 o'clock in the morning. Get some bill from MTNL, a replacement handle for my cupboard, buying some medicines and taking some photographs. It took me 4 hours. 10 o'clock I left, I reached home for a late lunch at 2 o'clock. I did similar stuff in Trivandrum about a year, 2 years back when I came on a vacation. I had to do some errands at home. I went and did 4 or 5 things in Trivandrum. It took me 2 hours. And that's what I thought to myself, that when I was in Bombay, or any person in Bombay, or for the matter, like any other city, outside big metros, all of us have 24 hours. But the fact that 4 hours were lost doing errands in Bombay, and I did in 2 hours here, it means that I have actually saved 2 hours of my life. So I'm actually got 26 hours in Trivandrum as about 24 hours in Bombay. So I get more time. And that made me think that yes, there is potential here. There is way of life. The quality of life here can be much better than quality of life in Bombay. Those of you who stayed in Bombay or know about Bombay, there's a place called Sakin Naka, and I used to stay in Ghatkopar and to pass Sakin Naka junction to go to the airport. And this photograph is of Sakin Naka junction, or just before Sakin Naka junction. When I look at this and I see this, I think of myself. If an emergency had to happen to me on a health basis, 9 out of 10 times, 99% I would have collapsed in the ambulance. I would not reach the hospital. Sometimes I think the ambulance may not even reach home to pick me up, because that's the kind of traffic we have in Bombay. Trivandrum, airport, I've stayed in General Hospital Junction. It takes me 10-12 minutes to reach the airport, 4-5 minutes to reach the station. So things move fast. I really get so much more time. What else is good in Trivandrum? Healthcare. I would say almost world-class healthcare. But more importantly, healthcare for every society, for every section of the society you can have. It's fantastic stuff which we have here. You go to Bombay, it's either you're rich and you would go to the Dhirubhai Ambani Hospital, or you go to Tata Memorial, but otherwise you don't get much help. So we see some good things here, and I'm just capturing a few good things. There are quite a few things which I'm sure are bad. They're much better. There are also good things. There are more good things. But in light of the time we have, and just to make a point across that there are things which we have in Trivandrum, I just put these things together. Now I want to park that for a minute. I'll come back to it at a later stage. Now, what are the factors which affect or which influence a growth of a city? Natural increase in population is surely one of them. But in case of Trivandrum, I don't see that happening. Because the Kerala's population is declining, growth rate is declining. And therefore Trivandrum would also decline. So depending on population to grow the city is not going to happen. Migration, possible, but not much. I don't see too many people migrating from within the state. Maybe there may be more people migrating from outside the state, but I'm not sure that's good enough for us to grow the city or make it a viable economic growth city. Industrialization, and when I say industrialization, I don't mean commercialization. I mean industrialization as in putting up big factories, an automobile factory or things like that, or chemical factory. I don't see that happening here. There is huge, land is at a premium, and I don't think that's going to happen in Trivandrum or in Kerala for that matter. So I don't see much hope for that factor to help us grow the city. What could, however, happen is advancement of transport and communication, which is what we are talking about, seamless communication. That is definitely possible, and that's definitely something which we can do here in the city. We've already had the earlier session people talking about education and the fact that there are so many institutions available here, so that's definitely a good bet. We have the Kovalam beach, we have the hills nearby, so that's also something which we can bet on to improve the city. Yeah, the urban planning policies of the government, that's a deal breaker. I'm hoping that the government would be favorable and they'll have some good policies. And also the fact that it's the capital, we also can tick mark this factor that there is a possibility that we can grow in the city. So I got these things which are factors, and I think we are sort of favorably placed to grow here. But before we do that, and that's when I thought for a minute when Dr. Prasad sort of took away my presentation, was waste management. I've stayed all over the country, as I said earlier, and waste management in Trivandrum is at the pits. I'm an enthusiast, I'm a cycling enthusiast. I cycle in the morning, and when I go on that road, which is near VSSC with the railway track, I see people dumping these bags. I can see crows, eagles, vultures coming in. And I just get disgusted. And this photograph, mind you, is actually in front of my house in General Hospital. And the wall you see is the Director of Health Services. So this is the Director of Health Services, General Hospital Junction is where this is. And I've seen this build over a period of a couple of years. When somebody came and first put one packet, and somebody else came and put the second packet, and soon we have this situation here. Now, waste disposal is not rocket science. I mean, it's been proven it's not rocket science. But even if it is rocket science, we have VSSC here, we have rocket science here in Trivandrum. So why can't we solve this problem? And this problem has to be solved if Trivandrum has to be in the reckoning. The other element is in terms of being an inclusive society. When I look around this room, I'm glad there is some, gender diversity, but I would have loved to see a much higher gender diversity in this room. But just one element of it. Just till a couple of years back, I know for a fact that when in Parliament India we were working, and we realized that the access to the Raj Bhavan, a person with disability on a wheelchair could not access the Raj Bhavan. So unless and until we as citizens, as management people really think about this and think about inclusive growth, we will not achieve what we need to achieve. So those are just 2 points which I want to make separately as a part of the growth plans. But we also need to understand that when we want to grow, it's a tightrope walk. If the economy grows, we have more people coming in, guaranteed more pollution, guaranteed more traffic, guaranteed use of resources, guaranteed loss of those open spaces. So we need to figure out as to what we need to achieve, how do we need to achieve. And I think the most important element for Trivandrum, in my opinion, is that we must keep the ethos of Trivandrum. The ethos of Trivandrum must be kept in mind when we are planning anything. We can't look at a scenario where we want to be the Beijing or the Shanghai or the New York. No, that's not what we are. That's not what we should aim for. We should aim for what we have, and how do we make best of it is for something which we really should look at. I mean, I know I just mentioned earlier that we were at the bottom geographical skew, and therefore we can't change that. But how do we overcome that? How do we work around that is the key issue here. What do we have as strengths here, opportunities? We have medical facilities, we have literacy, we have the sea, we have the hills. Land is a premium. So these are issues which we have, but how do we tackle this? And therefore, to me, and that comes to my last recommendation, is today, it's not a good thing as for a neighboring country to have, but Sri Lanka is having issues. But can we, as Trivandrumites, use this opportunity here to make the seaport and the airport a transit hub for all traffic on South Asia? Can we get business from the Colombo port? That itself would make a big difference to the city. We have an issue of getting people coming here. We have an issue of commuting, as I just mentioned earlier. But if you have seamless connectivity, can we make Trivandrum the medical headquarters for the country? Can we make it the innovation capital? Because what you need is a good connectivity, digital connectivity. And suddenly the whole barrier of the fact that you are not in the geographical center of the country, doesn't matter anymore. Because once you are connected on the internet, you're there, you're everywhere. So what we really need is a good seamless connectivity. But remember one thing, all cities which have grown, and I just studied that when I was making the presentation, is that it has only grown when younger people have come in. Younger people have come in means they need recreation facilities. So we need to improve logistics, we need to improve recreational facilities here. People cannot wait 7 days to get a packet on Amazon because we need to get that organized fast. People don't want to lose internet connectivity anywhere they go. They want to have internet connectivity everywhere. So we need to have the seamless connectivity. So to me, the whole concept, and I went through the KPMG report, I heard what they say. I'm not going to go through what the report says because the report has detailed everything and most of you have gone through it or heard them say this. I think the problems of Trivandrum can actually be solved with seamless connectivity and good infrastructure. So basically what people are looking for is a good infrastructure which helps them work, no power cuts, nice place to work, internet always on. And I think what we can do is to be able to preserve the ethos of the city while enabling it to grow as well. Thank you.